Welcome to Decades of Horror, the classic era.
New sensation. Woman's head cut off. Read all about it. New sensation. Decapitation sensation. New.
This is episode 134, recorded September 11th, 2022.
Gruesome Magazine.
I am your host, Jeff Mohr. On this podcast, we cover the good, the bad, and maybe even the ugly horror films released since the beginning of time through 1969. In each episode, we'll discuss the monsters, psychos, spirits, and villains that have haunted movie-going audiences since the dawn of film history. That's the only fun I have the whole podcast, so I say that. No, that's not true. Decades of Horror, the classic era, is partnering with Play Now Media on 3 of their streaming channels: the Classic Sci-Fi Movie Channel, Classic Horror Movie Channel, and the Wicked Horror TV Channel. And in fact, the today's offering is available on the Classic Horror Movie Channel. You can get that apps on Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, Apple TV, Roku, etc., etc. So, or you can just hit up the website. There is a subscription fee for if you want to watch premium content and everything without commercials, but it's kind of like Tubi in that there's, maybe 70 to 80% of their stuff is available with commercials. So with ads. All right. With me this week are my incredible co-hosts. First up. First I should say, because we didn't say it in the last episode, I sort of goofed that up. But Whitney Cayazzo is taking a couple of months off because she has some golden opportunities she wanted to take advantage of. And, life. It's life. We have opportunities. And so that's cool. And so we're going to have a few guest hosts with us for that. So we have a guest host today named Last Min Ute Sub. I'm sorry. I have trouble with names. Last Min. Who are you really?
My name is Steven Turek. I'm with the Diecast Movie Podcast. So I just enjoy that you guys offered me the chance to do this movie with you, because I've been listening to you guys the 70s, the 80s, the classic era for a few years now. So I've listened to just about every episode.
Oh, awesome. Appreciate that.
Very cool. Welcome aboard, man.
Diecast where does that name come from?
My children came up with the name because we do a couple of different things. One, we discuss movies, which we roll a die to decide which genre of movie we're going to discuss. So ergo Diecast Movie Podcast. But we also do interviews, and I've been fortunate to interview a lot of different people, so it's been fun. But half the episodes are movies, half the episodes are interviews, and then Alistair Hughes and myself started something that we also do on Diecast, which is a little like a sub-show in the main show, Hammer-Rama, where we discuss Hammer movies, and we roll a die to decide like whether it's going to be Frankenstein, Dracula, or the 70s, and that kind of stuff.
Cool.
So, yeah, very cool, which reminds me of a line from an Elvis song. I thought that you were die-cast, but that was just alloy. Anyway.
We need the cricket.
It's a really bad casting pun. I'm sorry. But, all right. Appreciate to have you here, Steve. It's awesome. We're interested in this. So, next up is Chad Hunt, co-host on Decades for the 70s and the 80s, film producer and director with Wreak Havoc Productions, and a comic book artist and writer. Sir Chad, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
Okay.
That's it.
You've been knighted, though, huh?
Yes.
It's well deserved. Yeah.
By Steven, yeah.
Also with us is Daphne, who is awesome, stupendous, and likable as hell. Daphne! I know you started on your Halloween costume. I know you did.
Hey, guys.
I can't wait to see it. How you doing?
I'm doing really good. It's great to have you, Steven. Thanks for joining us.
Yes.
Oh, I'm happy to be here. I'm glad. I can't believe when Daphne reached out and contacted me about coming on. I was like, oh, sure, I'll do it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the movie, because I never saw this movie prior to picking it. So hopefully everybody enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
I
did.
And you've had Daphne and Whitney as guests on your show, correct?
Yeah, the episode's going to be coming out in September. It's going to be The Vampire Lover. So it hasn't come out yet. It'll be coming out near the end of September.
I didn't know Daphne would do those sexy horror shows, so we might have to find some.
I know it's.
All right.
Only if they have weird titles like Mumsy and.
Well, we can't even.
You came this close with that one.
All right. So on this podcast, we start out by giving a few basic details of the film. Then we move into our segment called Taglines with Chad, and then some first impressions. Then we kind of take off down the road, talk about whatever interests us, and hopefully interests you as well. And we are a spoiler podcast. We're going to talk all about the kills and all that stuff. So today's movie is 63 years old. So check it out. I think it's on Tubi and it's on Classic Horror Movie Channel as well. So our movie today is Horrors of the Black Museum from 1959. And this young lady in this picture is seeing some impending doom coming from a vertical direction. The director is Arthur Crabtree, written by Herman Cohen and Aben Condell. Cast includes Michael Goff, June Cunningham, Graham Curnow, Shirley Ann Field, Jeffrey Keane. It's a production of Carmel Productions and Merton Park Studios. It was filmed at Merton Park Studios and other locations around London. It was released in Brooklyn on April 17th, 1959. And this is where it gets real fuzzy, because none of this makes any sense at all from differing sources. So the budget was either $164,000 or 40,000 pounds. And if you try to convert dollars to pounds or back around 1958 or 1959, that doesn't come out that way. That makes it look like there's $4 to a pound, and that's not right. So there's something off there. The box office said, one place said over a million and another place said over £1 million, which is a huge difference. Now, maybe one was in England, one was in the US, I don't know. And then in the IMDb trivia, it said it cost less than $400,000 to make and took in about $3 million. So I don't know. Somewhere in that neighborhood. We don't really know. It would probably be the best answer for that. Synopsis: a frustrated thriller writer wants accurate crimes for his next book, so he hypnotizes his assistant to make him commit the required crime. And I believe that is June Cunningham in that picture. All right. What do we do next? I don't remember. Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
It's time
You've
for...
been doing this longer than me.
It's... No, I haven't. It's time for Taglines with Chad.
Oh, you're so going to get busted for using that music.
You think so? It might. So if you don't hear any music there, it's because Amazon said, or YouTube said it had copyright issues. So
Okay.
Anyway, so
All right,
let's go with Chad in Taglines. What are our taglines for Horrors of the Black Museum?
First tagline: you'll feel the acid bath of death.
Is that required? I mean, if you...
It's implied that you will feel it. It doesn't say if by, they're going to make you do it, or
might have hurt the box office. I'm just saying.
it is a hypnotization movie, I guess. So. They could probably make you drink it. I don't know. Anyway. C, the fantastic binocular murder. C, the vat of death. Feel the icy hands. Feel the noose tighten. A lot of feelings in this these taglines. Okay, I quit.
No.
Yeah. Big in scope, in color, because it's spelled Colour. In thrills. So it's big in all three of those things.
Well, I think that's right, because that's kind of like velour, right? Isn't how's
Color, yeah. It sounds like a liquor.
Color.
Okay. It actually puts you in the picture. Can you stand it? Take your shirt off.
I think.
That's a whole nother level, that one.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? I think we had one like that with The Fly, didn't we? Or Son of Dracula, or we had another one, something like that. You know, that's what's going to happen. Okie dokie.
And last but not least, in small, tiny, all not capital letters, fear beyond belief.
Yeah, I don't. We always, you know, I know I'm glad they had the requisite superlatives. It's fantastic.
This ain't brain science, folks.
Yeah. All right.
I say brain science.
Okay.
I meant rocket
That's
science.
correct.
But it's not brain science either. Whatever
All
the
right,
first
well,
level of surgery is, this is not that.
So let's go to thank you, Chad, for
Oh, sure, my pleasure.
The taglines from Chad.
Okay.
Bravo.
Next up, we'll do first impressions, and we usually let the person who chose the film go first. You up for that, Steve? Last one?
Oh, sure. Let's go for it.
Okie dokie. So in 200 words or let no, I'm kidding. What are your first impressions of this film, and when did you first see this, and why did you pick it?
Why I picked it because I never saw it before, and a friend of mine told me that, oh, this is a good movie, you should see this. So I was going in with, and he told me it had some good kills in it, so I was like, okay, I'm tempted to see. Michael Goff's in it, you know, I'm going to go for it. And I saw it the first time a week ago, and the second time yesterday. So I actually watched it twice prior to us doing this. And one of the things I also did, because it's not in the movie on Tubi, but you have to go on YouTube, is to watch the part that was in the US prior, which is with the hypnotist, which is about 12, 13 minutes long, so I could put it in its proper context. And I don't know what that actually would do to help the movie, but I heard like in the trivia thing, people enjoyed it. Maybe it was in 1959.
The producer said they enjoyed it. I don't know. It's like it was his idea, so I'm sorry.
Well, he might have been he might have been biased in his gauging of the audience reaction. Well, let's put it this way: the movie talks about, they call it Hypno-Vista, and it really doesn't deal with hypnotism. It's more of like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde kind of thing. And the guy is under control, but they never show anything with the hypnotism going on. You see a lot of like mad scientist gadgets around with this electronics equipment, which is really never explained. So there's a lot of things that are just shown, never really thrown out in detail. But we do get some nice kills, especially early in the movie. I mean, the movie starts right off with a bang, you know, so you get that nice first kill with the binoculars, and you get later on, you get the guillotine in the bed. I mean, how often do you ever see a guillotine in a bed? I mean, this is probably the only movie with it. Just saying. So it's got history there. And there's some nice acting going on with some of the characters, but overall, I would say for anybody, you know, that's going to watch this, once is probably enough. Twice is overkill, especially in 1 week.
Okay. Well, let's go hear from Daphne next. Daphne, had you seen this before?
I had not, but I
Okay.
had been wanting to see it because I had heard it in reference to like it's with two other movies, Peeping Tom and Circus
the
of Horror or something like
trilogy
that.
thing.
The trilogy
Yeah.
thing that
Yeah.
sounded really gruesome and just dark. And so I was really excited when Steven suggested it. But so I hadn't seen it, and I enjoyed it. Yeah, I was kind of perplexed by some stuff just kind of thrown in at the end. Like I literally said to myself, wait, this is a Jekyll Hyde at the end when all that was introduced, like right before the final act.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was I thought it was fun, and I really enjoyed Michael Gough's just incredibly arrogant and horrible hairdo character. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, I don't know if I'll see it again, but I thought it was fun, and yeah, awesome kills. Sure. Some stuff is like, wow, they did that, they went there. But yeah, it was fun.
All right, thank you, Chad, sir.
What?
What are your first impressions of Horrors of the Black Museum?
I've never even heard of this movie until now,
cool.
And so this is the first time I watched it. And my first impression was, what the hell? What's going on here? I hold in my hands a piece of movie scenery, and I shall play the part of Michael Go. I'll be right with you. I mean, he's played some over the top stuff before, but this one sort of just takes the cake, and he's awesome in that. He's awesome in that role. Mm-hmm. But the story was just zany. I mean, by the end, you figure out poor Rick was a Hyde. He was a Mr. Hyde. Had been after we've seen Michael Go kill somebody, we figured, oh, it's him. He's been doing it this whole time. No, it's his ugly manservant Rick. But anyway, yeah, this has got some insane kills in it for the time. Yeah. Some pretty inventive kills. And yeah, the acting was good. Everybody was good in this. And I'm like Daphne. I will not watch this again under any circumstances. But I'm glad I did. I'm glad I did this time.
Okay, all righty. Well, that's what we do. We like seeing movies we haven't seen before, especially with actors like Michael Gough that we maybe not haven't seen. And this is kind of billed as one of his few leading man roles. So anyway, I'm going to kind of echo what everybody else says. You're right. It starts right off, and you took the words right out of my mouth, Chad. Only you visually depicted him was Michael Gough chewing scenery like you've never seen before in parts of this movie. And it's I don't know. It's very strange. It's hard to figure out what he's doing because they don't reveal to the end. At the very end, he gives a speech to his helper, Rick. And this is the key to our success, which we've never even seen before. He's never mentioned. We don't know anything about it. So anyway, it's interesting. And you're right. We get this, Steve, we get this 12-minute intro, apparently, in the U.S. called Hypno-Vista, which is some guy from university who's a hypnotist, and he talks like he's trying to put, today we'll be discussing hypnotism. Some people, anyway. I thought maybe that, and he does the part of what he throws up is the standard optical illusions that everybody sees. Are these lines the same length or not? Are these two lines parallel? And those, I don't know, maybe those hadn't been seen very much in 1959. I don't know, but other than that, I literally it was only 12 minutes long, and I thought I was going to fall asleep. and it's hard
Maybe
to
you were
tell
being
what it's.
hypnotized, Jeff.
I think I was, because
Yeah.
what does he say? I've never been hypnotized that I know of, unless they told me to forget. But anyway, so yeah, it's not a great movie. It's fun watching Michael Goff rip it up, and it's the kills are fun, and his helper, like it is kind of a Jekyll Hyde thing, but it like I don't know, turns his face sort of silver gray, and he gets like a really big underbite. His chin sticks way out, and
Captain Planet.
Yeah, it's very, very strange. And there's a lot of funny quotes about him too. But I got rid of those. So let's take a look at some posters here. So Hypno-Vista, right? It actually puts you in the picture. Can you stand it? There's no optic. There's no, right? There's no 3D stuff. There's no.
Can you stand it? I mean, really, can you stand it?
Really, the best thing about Hypno-Vista, I think, for the theater owners, was that it gives people a chance to go get the popcorn and the sodas that they might not have gotten yet, and they can walk in and not have missed anything. Like you're running late, you got a 12-minute buffer, to still get to the movie and not miss any of the good stuff. And when Michael Goff's chewing scenery, you could be chewing popcorn. Every time he chews, you chew. It could be great.
We'll make millions.
Yeah. He's got that. You mentioned it, Daphne. We'll show some pictures later, but he's got that kind of Reed Richards hairdo, right? The perfect gray shocks along the side of his hair. So there's a poster, but almost all the other posters I thought were more interesting than this. So Spanish poster. Although I
love the colors in that poster. I mean, that's gorgeous.
Were there scissors used for any kills? I don't think so. Yeah, but that's okay. We know. Just like posters, there was a blonde woman in bed, but she had clothes on. And more covers than just a sheet. So
that'll get them in.
Probably did. And the Italian, I believe. Also similar, we see the collapsed woman with the eye poker binoculars. So she gets these binoculars and as a gift, right? And they open it really quick, and she's all excited that somebody's going to take her to the horse races or something, I guess. And puts them up to her eyes to look out the window, and and they have. It's later described that they have needles long enough to pierce into your brain to kill you, not just blind you.
As she's falling, she goes, "I can't see a thing out of these."
Oh wow, she goes down.
But those weren't 5-inch or
they were
needles. They were pretty impressive.
They were.
Yeah,
actually,
I felt like they were nails or something, like giant nails.
Spikes.
I was searching. I should have pulled it up. I was searching images of the Black Museum. So the whole idea of this Black Museum was that Scotland Yard supposedly has a Black Museum.
They do.
Murder instruments, and that these were copies of some cases. And I saw a picture of like a mocked up. It looked like that's what it was. It didn't look like those. It had the poker things coming out the side of the eye things, which would kind of make sense, if you were had to build them in. Anyway, I should have pulled that up. It was all kind of rusty looking and stuff. Very strange. So, and then we've got, I think we've decided the top one is Belgium/Dutch. Belgium/Dutch, yes. Because
French, something.
Two languages. But don't forget, Hypno-Vista. And the bottom one, I believe, is French as well. Yeah, these are the crimes in the Museum of Horrors, not horrors of the Black Museum. So,
I love that top one. I think that's my favorite.
I agree with Sir Chad. The top one's the
best. Yeah. So anyway, those are the posters. So the director of this film was Arthur Crabtree. And there is one film of his that we've likely seen. Anybody?
Was he one of the Little Rascals? Because the name just sounds like one of them would be going,
yeah.
well, if it isn't Albert Crabtree, I don't know. It just sounds.
He directed Fiend Without a Face.
I'll be dropping bombs over here now.
He directed Fiend Without a Face, but that's the only thing I recognized. And this is his last movie. And I don't know that there was anything that I saw that would indicate a directorial style. Anybody notice anything?
Maybe just jumping all over the place, but otherwise it's hard. That could be the editing too. That might not have been him at all.
Well, he started out as a cameraman / cinematographer and switched to directing in like 1945. But Fiend Without a Face, that's worth having in your
it is
in your resume. And the author, the writer of the film, Herman Cohen, is also the producer, and he produced and wrote a bunch of things. If you look him up, it's just a bunch of. I don't know if you've seen these or not, and I'm going to get the title wrong here, and I don't think I copied them over. There's a real goofy movie in the 70s called Craze. That's it. Craze. That's got like Jack Palance and a bunch of folks like that. It's almost like. Go ahead.
This could explain why the movie maybe jumped all over. It might not be the director's fault. If the writer was also the producer, he might have said, "No, you're filming this. Follow the script," and and that kind of stuff. So that could be. I think I can give the director a pass without knowing all the facts, just because when you got a producer as the screenwriter. Yeah.
Okay, so he produced Craze. He produced Trog, Berserk, which we recorded an episode on, and then decided. I screwed it up electronically, and we decided it wasn't worth doing it over again.
and it was the best podcast we had ever done.
Yeah, it was. So yeah, The Black Zoo, Conga, The Headless Ghost, and How to Make a Monster, Blood of Dracula. I Was a Teenage Frankenstein. I Was a Teenage Werewolf. And most of those he produced and wrote, and a lot of them. His partner on this one was it Aben Kandel? Aben Kandel was a co-writer on a bunch of those. So they had a little team going, and probably just like a lot of these budget producers, not that this is. I don't know if it ranks with Roger Corman films or not, but it's. I imagine he's making money. Otherwise, he wouldn't have kept doing it. He did it, So, any thoughts about that?
Well, I was looking up Craze, and it's not really related to that, but I would definitely want to see Jack Palance as a psycho antique dealer. I might have to check that out.
I tried to watch that once. It was on something. It was on. I forget what it was on, like Amazon or something, but the quality was so bad I couldn't go through with it. Because the cast looks really interesting, right?
Well, I do notice that a lot of those movies you mentioned, there's quite a few of them that have Michael Gough in them. So obviously they really worked well together and did a lot of things. Then the movie quality that you mentioned varies dramatically from those movies, from one to the other because of budget or whatever the reason. But Michael Gough is one of the constants for a lot of that.
Mm-hmm. The dialogue isn't the best. I don't think. I don't know.
No.
I did like some of the settings though. And I don't know how much that. I'm sure he has some role in that as the director, but I did really like a lot of the settings that he went to with like the antique shop and the
where he met Jack Palance.
right where Jack Palance was working, and
Don't sit there.
Command.
You know, and his little lair and stuff like that, and just the different places that they went to, the fair and all that stuff. I did like those different scenes and the different settings there. It wasn't just kind of like the same thing over and over again. But yeah, the dialogue wasn't so great, and
it was I can't even, I don't even remember. I know it was terrible, but I can't remember like any one line from what was so terrible about it.
Well, I did, like, we were looking over some of the quotes for the movie, and there were some doozies in there that I really liked. Probably the longest list that Jeff has ever put together for us to pick. For
well, I watched and at no place that it was offered did it have subtitles. Subtitles usually help.
Yeah.
At least that I could find. So I watch it with my headphones on and then repeat lines into my phone and hope I could decipher what comes out. But they were crazy. Well, this was one I particularly thought was, I tell you, no woman can hold her tongue. They're all a vicious and unreliable breed. Okay. So
what's the problem with
that? And when he kills the woman with the guillotine, he runs out, and all the old people that live in the building are all saying what he looked like, and they say things like, "He was old. I saw him clearly. Heaven help me. He had the speed and the strength of the unholy."
I saw the devil, but it was old.
He brushed me aside with just a glance, and it was thrown with unhuman strength. Yes.
Yes, exactly.
And the one girl who actually saw Michael Goff earlier gets blown, describes him and like, oh no, she's making that up. And I'm thinking, yeah. But having said that, I've done police work on the college campus, and when you talk to witnesses, and you start listening to all these different variations, it's the same thing. You're like, oh my God, it is hard to figure out what the truth is sometimes, because some are directly lying to you, and some of them are trying to recall the truth as accurate as they can, and sometimes the liars are giving you more accurate information than the ones that are trying to tell you the truth. It's sad. Yeah,
you can understand why the detective was skeptical, because he was old. He was very old, but he was really fast and strong, and he wore a young man's coat.
Yes. Like the kids are wearing today. One of those coats.
Like the kids are wearing.
But yeah, I love that they had the kid who like totally gives them the break in the case, and then no one listens.
Right. Tell them exactly what.
They accuse her of being a liar and just swat her on the butt and send her on her way.
And a mom's going to thank her. Oh, she just makes up stories. And I'm like, geez, she's telling the truth.
It's his face I'll never forget. Old and wrinkled, steeped in evil, and eyes burning in his head. I don't even know what that means.
I don't know, but they were all eager to say it, weren't they?
Yes, they were. Also eager to gossip about the young woman who died.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I will say the most scary line, the most horrific line to me was when they said, when the superintendent was saying, "A man over 50 running fast? Come on." I'm thinking, that is so hurtful.
People were usually dead by then, back in those days.
I know, it's just when you're over 50, you're just like, oh, come on. Don't, it's bad enough my kids pick on me. Now the movie's doing it.
It was the power of the young jacket. Yeah. The young jacket had all the powers.
He kept going, hey.
Didn't have a motorcycle. Okay, so let's look at. So Michael Goff's character is a writer. The synopsis said like true crime writer, but he also has a column and writes newspaper articles and books. So, And apparently he can come and go and walk into any room in the
Yep.
police station without
Mhm.
anybody.
Yeah.
Pick up evidence, although he does say, you checked this for prints already, right? It was a cool gadget, though. But think of what he's doing. He's sitting there admiring his work because he made it, right? Or Rick. Maybe Rick made it. We don't know. His helper.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the two police in the top picture. The second picture is the antique shop owner.
We'll call her Jacqueline Palance.
I'm trying to remember. I believe that was Aggie, played by Beatrice Varley.
Mm-hmm.
She was really good.
Those are my favorite scenes were in the antique shop. The two scenes in there. Those are my favorite ones with the interplay between the two. I wish there was more of it, but those two scenes are just great. I love it how they're each trying to scam each other. And, and then you learn a new way to use the ice tongs.
Yeah, I sort of got the idea. Whatever Edmund Bancroft, Michael Goff's character, whatever he puts in his hands are going to be used to.
Right. Yeah, don't turn away from him, Aggie. You should know better. You should know better.
So in the I apologize for not getting these names on here soon enough, but in the top picture with the police, we have Superintendent Graham, played by Jeffrey Keane. And I believe is Keane the one in the chair or the one standing? I think he's the one.
Keane is the one sitting. He's the superintendent.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he has a decent part, plays a pretty standard English, and he's sort of like seems to know that Michael Goff is up to no good, but plays along until he has time to get him. And Keane is another one. I mean, several of these people. Keane has over 140 credits. Played the Minister of Defense in The Living Daylights and A View to a Kill.
Wow.
I think he was an Octopussy also, wasn't he?
Moonraker, yep.
Moonraker. Yep. Dr. Sin, alias the Scarecrow.
What?
He was in Dr. Sin, alias the Scarecrow.
When did he do that? I thought that must have been a British version.
Yeah, it was the British version, 1963. Then they showed it in Britain first, and then Disney showed it on the Wonderful World of Walt Disney.
All right, I've never seen the. I see it. He says he's. He plays General Pugh. All right,
I didn't say the movie title. I'm not saying he's the Scarecrow.
Okay,
the
gotcha. And Patrick,
I'm just giving the
Scarecrow. That's what I was going after. That's what I was. Loved that when I was a kid. One of the great Disney things. Swamp Fox was another one about the same time. All right.
Well, he definitely seemed comfortable in this type of role. It was right. It just seemed very natural.
He does.
I'm sure a lot of his credits is of a position of authority, police, general, bureaucrat, whatever. If you look him up, he's probably that's the type he did, and he did it well. Why break out of your mold? 140 credits.
Yeah.
In the bottom picture, we have Michael Goff and Graham Curnow in their version of the Black Museum. Since Scotland Yard won't let them in, they're going to make their own version, which is obviously better because they haven't been caught. Right.
Obviously better, and it's a huge computer.
Yes. Which
I like the way the little blue light kept flashing back and forth.
Well, they keep I give this away. So I've got some things that have to do with some of the kills. So I guess I'll throw one of those up there. But Rick's handling one of the appliances. He shows up in the top picture. He's buying this knife from Aggie, and then he takes it back for Rick to, I don't know, log it in and find a place for it to display it so no one can see it but them.
Which I have to say, you know, I love librarians, people who work in the museum. You wouldn't just stick it there. He didn't catalog it, didn't do any sort of labeling or researching. Oh, Rick.
He had one or two jobs.
He just stuck it there.
Kill people and sort out this mess in here.
Yeah.
Well, I can see why you don't write it down because, you know, I learned
That's
this also. That nothing in writing, always in cash. Those are two important things if you're going to do anything criminal. But these guys were insane or drugged, or hypnotized, supposedly. You know.
All hopped up on the hide juice.
Yeah.
Hopped up on the hide juice. So here's the binoculars right after she tries to see how far she can see with them. And she screams out, although the version I watched, it was muted a little bit or changed. You could see her screaming, "My eyes," but I couldn't hear it.
It would have been better if the binoculars started crawling over toward her leg. And then they cut right there.
So you're saying, Chad, what this is missing is a disembodied hand to come there and
no. Nobody said anything about no severed hand. Binoculars.
Which reminds me that Michael Goff played in the disembodied hand segment of Dr. Terror's House of Horrors.
Hey, remember this movie they were talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
I remember it so well. 10 seconds ago.
Yeah, and there's Michael Goff looking at them. You can see how long they are.
I do got to say, we kind of talked about this already, but those binoculars are pretty intense. I mean, just those giant nails sticking out the back of them. It's pretty gruesome. It's pretty horrible.
It is.
Pretty creative, though. I mean,
yeah.
That's a.
I mean, you're absolutely right. There are some very good kills, and it's almost. It's like, wait a second. You watch that, so it's kind of funny with the, with the scene chewing and everything, and then you think, oh dear, that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Well, I think
if Jason knew how to make stuff like that.
I know.
I think Steve said it. That was it starts off with a bang. I mean,
absolutely.
It starts off with
right away.
You see a postman delivering this box to her, and within like 2.5 minutes, she's laying on the floor.
Exactly.
And you gotta love her roommate's reaction. It's like screaming, ah! And it opens the door, ah! Running out the building. I mean,
she had a kind of
running to.
All it was missing was the Benny Hill music.
Yes. Well, her reaction was really kind of. Like, the way she ran out the door was very odd. Like somebody was pulling her with a rope on the other side or something. But,
and this lady would have lived if she'd have just let her roommate try it first.
Yes.
She wanted to try it first. Yeah. Oh, you go. Now, listeners, you all know now, if you get binoculars in the mail, if somebody else wants to try them first, let them.
Yeah. Don't be greedy.
I mean, best case scenario, you get raccoon eyes, but worst
case,
also let them all taste your food before you eat it.
All right. Well, that's one. And I'm, I just flat out trying to see. I don't know who that actor was. So Gail's roommate, I think she was Gail, Dorinda Stevens. And her roommate Peggy was Malu Pantera, which kind of makes sense. She had that kind of French accent. So check out the Dr. Ballin, Gerald Anderson, and I don't know what was going on with that. Every time that there's a murder, Michael Goff has to go to the doctor because he's overwrought or has high blood pressure and something. I don't know.
Put the googly eyes on the computer.
He goes into shock.
It does kind of look like it.
And I'm thinking when I first watched this that the doctor is establishing how Michael Goff's character is going to die. because it's like he's going to get in such a frenzy, from killing or watching Rick kill or whatever, that he was going to collapse from a heart attack. So I thought that's how he was going to go. No, it meant nothing at all except for how the doctor figures out that he's doing something weird, because after every murder he goes to the doctor, and the doctor starts to put 2 and 2 together. 3 murders, 3 times he's come to me. Okay, he's a smart man in that aspect. John was all get out to go to a person he knows is crazy, and even Michael Goff calls him out on it. You're going to go to a mad lion's den? Why, I'm a doctor. I'm used to dealing with the deranged. I can easily handle all this. I'm paraphrasing his lines, but it's pretty much what it was.
Yes, pretty much.
How did it work for you, Doc? How did it work for you?
Yes, exactly. And I'm still confused with what that was about, other than to establish, give the doctor something to understand what was going on. Otherwise, I still don't understand what was happening.
Somehow or another, I think that the guy that confessed to the killings, that guy was somehow channeling Michael Goff or something, because what he says, and this is one of those quotes I wrote down, do you know what I'll use next? A death ray. I've been working on it secretly for years, and it's almost ready. No one will be safe. I'll be able to shoot this ray out of my eyes and kill anyone. Well, he hasn't, and we know nothing about this. He hasn't talked about this. There's nothing. He just manages to lure this doctor into this space somehow, just by standing there and watching him, and then flipping a switch.
Jeff, I'm watching you make the script start to sound like it actually made sense in some areas.
I would go that far. So yeah, the doctor shows up to try to have him committed, I think, right?
Well, take him to the police or committed or something.
He needs a rest. Yeah. So shoots him with the here's another case where we could have used Kenneth Strickfaden probably, but this worked. And then in the bottom shot, so this is the part I didn't get. Michael Goff's character tells Rick to get that heavy chain and wrap his body in it. Was that supposed to hold him down in the vat or something? Or what was the point of that?
I think it was so they could lower him down and pull him back up when he's just a skeleton. Yeah. That's what I took. Oh,
got it. You wouldn't want to stick your hand in the.
I agree with Daphne.
You might want to edit that out, Jeff. That makes you look bad.
They got they found an acid that could dissolve flesh and blood in like 30 seconds, but wouldn't touch bone or change.
Right. Yeah, and doesn't go through rubber, your gloves or your apron. Yeah.
Oh, right.
But remember, they also had him take off he had Rick take the doctor's watch off and the rings off. So everything that was metal, he had him take off the doctor out of his pockets, and then they threw him in. So maybe it only goes for the flesh, like the flesh eaters.
Maybe they got a little side hustle going on, stealing jewelry from the dead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
you got to fun. You got to fun stuff, fun things a little bit. You got to have a side. You always got to have a side business,
side hustle. Yeah.
Well, if you had metal in there, it probably would have created some sort of chemical plating reaction, and the guy would have
probably
looking like
science too, Jeff.
You didn't know this was science fiction, did you? He pulls the skeleton out, and then they hang it on the hook on the wall. And there's several of those hooks. I'm wondering how many skeletons are there usually.
Exactly.
I thought it was funny. Jeff went for the metal. How did the metal survive? My thing was, how did the bones stay all together in a skeleton? They should all just been separate. Yeah. But that was me. I was just like, I just went with it. I mean, at this point in the movie, either you're going with everything, or you stopped a long time ago.
This particular acid did not dissolve ligaments.
Mm-hmm.
You missed that part, right? Okay.
And sure did.
And there,
Rick's got a really ugly Christmas sweater on.
So these really don't go together. Yeah, the top picture is his portable collapsible guillotine that he strapped. Position.
His travel
this is actually this is what she sees when she's looking up after she lays in bed.
The new
Oh my
Ronin
gosh.
portable guillotine.
Yeah, exactly.
1999.
And just clamp it at the top of the headboards, and you're
Yeah.
set.
You're set. Straight down.
One
So
way to
yeah,
get
and
ahead.
then do you notice your head laying there on the floor too? You put that in the bag.
Yep.
Why?
Suppose that was going in the vat, maybe. I don't know.
I got dinner out of this too, huh?
Well, they can make it a soup bowl, skull soup bowl type thing. Add to the Black Museum. You need some realistic stuff to go in there.
Skull soup bowl.
I like though how he took I'm sure Jeff would appreciate this. How he engineered it to know. He probably looked at the pillow, saw where the indentations were from the time she slept there before, measured it out.
It was perfectly aimed. Yeah,
That's the only way.
To make sure that the guillotine would hit the neck.
Mm-hmm.
I know. Imagine if it just came across the bridge of her nose. It just wouldn't have been the same.
You would have to do it all over again at that point. And I loved how the criminal investigator, or maybe it was the coroner or something, was like, if this was a revolution, I would have suspected a guillotine. Okay.
So this is at this point in the movie, we see this face. We're not supposed to know who it is, although his hairdo and his jacket kind of give him away.
His young person jacket.
But we don't know what's going on. What is with this gray? I didn't know if it was gray or silver or what the heck that was on his face, and then he runs out past all the people, and that's when we had all the comments we talked about. And then later, they decide that
sweet zip up jacket on.
Yep, I'm telling you,
he does. Later, we decide we have to try and remember now. His girlfriend's name is. That's Shirley Ann Field, right? Her name is
Angela Banks.
And he's like seeing her on the side, and then decides to show her the museum. And
show her the museum. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Edmund Bancroft is
what they called it back then.
He want to see my museum.
Well, she seemed to be enjoying it there when he
did.
Came in. Everybody, people have different. You never know what's going to turn people on.
Mm-hmm.
So they get her to leave the room, and then Bancroft tells Rick he's got to take care of her. You can't have strangers knowing what's going on in there. And so he shoots him up with the magic juice. What did you call it? The
hide juice.
He's all hyped up on the hide juice. And then they go to the carnival, and they go in the Tunnel of Love,
which was weird.
And they come out of the shadows.
Yes,
he comes out of the shadows in the dark place in the ride, and looks like this, and rears up with that knife that Bancroft bought and buries it in her chest. Boom, she's done.
Yeah, first he's like, "No, don't die," and then he's like, "Okay, die."
And then he's trying to run away, and people are chasing him, and he runs up on this weird Ferris wheel. But anyway, he runs up the framework of it.
A homage to King Kong, I'm sure. It had to be a homage to King Kong. It made no sense at all.
If it is, it's the cheapest one ever done.
This is how I can get away. I'm going to run up to the top of something that I have no way of getting off. Mm-hmm. So I guess that the hide juice didn't make him smart. We know that. And then the police show up, and Bancroft is running after him for some reason. I think he was down there.
He decides to go with them, knowing that this is all set up. He knows, I got to see this. This is going to be a friendly conclusion. I'm like, you've totally, the doctor said he's getting more and more insane. It's like, you lost all your marbles at this point, because this makes no sense unless you're a nut. And he was
just so arrogant. He brings about his own undoing. Yeah. He's
Well, it kind of blows the whole thing when Rick, standing up on top of this Ferris wheel, goes,
"Oh, Rick,
Bancroft,
Mr. Bancroft."
I did what you said, Mr. Bancroft.
Yes. The superintendent goes, "You know him?
Told me.
Kill him! Kill him! What are you waiting for?" Oh,
But wait, I haven't
major,
told everything yet.
major scenery chewing there. And
Um,
then an awesome ending. I wish, it was just awesome. He still has that knife with him. And he leaps off the Ferris wheel and lands perfectly on Michael Goff, stabbing him in the heart.
mhm.
And he
Then the
does
two
that while
cops-
being shot in the air. So he does this while
Yeah.
he's dying, boom, boom.
Then the two cops at the end going, "'Twas beauty killed the beast."
Pretty much.
Can I ask you guys something? Have any of you been in a tunnel of love?
Yes.
I'd never met. You haven't? Do they real? What was going on there? I don't get it.
Well, not much
was
because I was
just a-
riding in it alone.
You were with your brother, right?
Tad was there with
No,
you.
it was one of those cheap ones. I guess, and it just kind of like one of those haunted houses that they fold out of the semi truck,
Uh-huh.
type thing.
Oh, right.
Yeah, but they
Okay.
didn't have the Bickersons in it, though, did they? I mean, it was like, how is this? Yeah, I mean, they had like a couple. The Bickersons were in there discussing. I was like, were those people in the cart, the boat in front of them?
I thought
or
they
was
were
that
in the car
sound?
behind them. Yeah.
Okay,
I thought they
all
were in the
right.
car
I
behind
was
them,
just
but I'm
very
not sure.
confused.
Yeah, I thought there was one that was arguing in the front or the behind, and one was making out. So I'm not sure
Yeah,
where
exactly.
logistically the sounds are coming from, but it
Oh,
was.
damn it!
That's what happened when I went through it. Dead
So I
people
did like.
screaming,
I
the
did
souls
love
of
the
the
Hall of
lost.
Mirrors.
What's that,
I
Steve?
did love the scene. I did love the scene in the Hall of Mirrors. I mean, that was cool because that,
Oh, yeah,
that
that was
brought
pretty
back
cool.
some memories.
Yeah.
Until he runs in and looks in the mirror. And then everybody's laughing at, oh, look what it did to your
Hey,
face. And
look
he
at
turns
his
around
face.
and goes, that's his real face.
Yeah, don't look at this mirror; it'll turn your face into this. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, we're laughing about it. So the Hypno-Vista thing, it's not available anywhere streaming that has that included. You can find it separately on YouTube, or I think I found it on Vimeo as well.
Mhm.
And it's about 12 minutes long. So without that, it's only a 78-minute movie. So it's not like you're going to use up a whole lot of time. And it's once you get what's going on or not going on, it's kind of fun watching Michael Goff I mean, the way he screams at, I should have brought those up. Anyway, I got to ask a question.
Okay.
Chad,
I'll do
Did
my
you
best.
did you fast forward through the dancing scene?
Man, you know I did. I couldn't take any of that. That thing, it just looked like she had a tic tac or something in her shoe.
I know that was perplexing as well.
Nope.
It sort of reminded me of Elaine's dance on
Yes.
Seinfeld.
Yeah.
It just was very
Dad,
odd.
when I
So
was
that
watching
was
the movie and it got to the dancing, I'm apologizing to you now. I had no idea. Like I said, I never saw it before. When I saw the dancing, I said, "Oh, Chad is just going to be fast forwarding this
Yeah,
puppy
that was-
tomorrow," because that goes on for 2 or 3 minutes. I mean, it goes on for
It is.
way
Yeah.
longer than it needs to.
I went just like this. No. No.
So, and that's interesting is that she's killed very quickly. She's the next
Mhm.
kill after the binoculars. And she's the top billing after Michael Goff, June Cunningham. And I got the feeling, the way she talked, I got the feeling that she was trying to come off as a Marilyn Monroe type or
Mhm.
Judy Holliday or Jane Mansfield, something like that. And anyway, it was interesting. They break
Well, the one
up.
thing-
She yells at him. He yells at her. Anyway. Steve.
Shirley Ann Field. I just wanted to bring up that she was in a Hammer movie, The Damned, which is pretty good. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it. It's a science fiction, more of a science fiction movie, but The Damned.
Oh,
I
no,
saw it for the first time at the end of last year, so it's been almost a full year since I've seen it, and it was a nice watch. It has Curse of the Werewolf, Oliver Reed.
Oliver
Oliver
Reed.
Reed.
Well, that's not
Yeah.
the one.
I believe.
Also
the other
known
one
as
he's
Drunk
in?
Werewolf.
I'm just double checking here because it's odd. What's the one where he plays the drunk? You told me about it, Daphne. I think Psycho.
The drunk. The one time he played a drunk. Psychomania. No, Psycho. No,
I know. There we go.
Yes, that was. That's
So
also a Hammer movie. Yeah.
there's all. I think we should look into some of these because I think there's a whole series of non-monster Hammer movies in the early 60s where partially because like I think it was Sangster and Fisher got tired of the monster movies and were doing like psychological thrillers or something. But the highest downloaded of our episodes of 133 episodes is Nightmare, a movie I had never heard of until we watched it, and there's nothing that particularly sets it apart, and I've never been able to find out why it is our highest downloaded episode. It obviously has some fans somewhere, and maybe not that many people cover it, and it got shared on some group or something. Who knows? But anyway,
the Oliver Reed movie is Paranoiac.
Paranoiac,
and it is actually it's pretty good.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
It's not bad. So
yeah, it's a totally psychological. Is it spiritual? You know, it kind of makes you think, is it really a kind of a spiritual type thing going on, or is it just psychological?
Oh
yeah, it's a good one.
She was in Peeping Tom as well.
Shirley-Ann Field.
She's still alive today. Yeah, she's still alive today.
Yeah.
Cool.
There you go.
That trilogy that Daphne brought up at the beginning, it was called Anglo Amalgamated Sadian Trilogy.
Sadian, that's right.
Yeah, Circus of Horrors, Peeping Tom, and this movie.
And yeah, I haven't seen Circus of Horror, but they all sound gruesome and just bad. Yeah, I was really excited to watch this one.
Yeah. Well, it says there.
Well, this was
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, I was just to end up on that. It was there was an emphasis on sadism, cruelty, and violence with sexual undertones in those three films. Unlike
there's probably a good, there's a certain amount of homosexual undertones in terms of Michael Goff and Rick, I think. Although Rick they both had girlfriends, but his total control over him and that is kind of odd. So this was a joint kind of production. So Samuel Z. Arkoff was an uncredited co-producer of this. And according to what we read, half the money in the budget was provided by Anglo Amalgamated in the UK, and the other half was from AIP. So, and I got to throw in, there's my Beatles reference. Graham Kernow was the lover of Victor Spinetti, who played a scientist in Help and the TV show director in Hard Day's Night, that they were supposed to be getting ready for this TV appearance, and he's always looking for him. And anyway. Okay. Last thoughts?
I think it's worth seeing. I mean,
yeah,
I thought it was fun. Michael Goff is fun, and I enjoyed it. I thought there were good kills.
Yeah, I agree. It was fun to watch because it's just so out there. The way it's got this over the top blowout ending, and everybody's like still very proper and talk proper. Meanwhile, the world's exploding around everybody. It was awesome. Yeah, it is fun, and it's a good chance to see Michael Goff's scenery chewing, because he doesn't get to do that often, or didn't get to do that often. But yeah, it's, if you've never seen it, I agree with Daphne. It's worth a watch.
Yeah,
you'll never watch it again.
Well, having said that, I watched it twice in 1 week. I did watch it twice.
I did too.
Oh man,
Jeff and I just took one for the team. We watched it an extra bit.
I enjoyed it. What did I do?
Well, you watch it the first time, did I really see what I saw? So then you got to watch it again to realize you did see what you saw. So,
well, it only took me one time.
I watched it the second time to look for quotes. Seriously.
I wasn't watching for quotes, but it's definitely worth a good viewing. Watching it, and this is, I think, one that you could put on at a party and then just stop, look at the kills. So the first two kills happen roughly early on, and then you could let the dance scene go on and all the other stuff, and then you can tell people, wait a minute, we're getting to the guillotine scene, or he's got the ice tongs, now it's time to watch what's going to happen, and because you don't have to pay attention to any plot, anything else. They explain it all in that list. This is all that matters. This one bottle, which comes at the very end. Yeah. And at that point, it's only got 8 minutes to go. So I think as a film that you can just throw on the background while you're having a party, it could work also. So I enjoyed it. I'm going to tell my friend I enjoyed watching it. It's not a bad movie.
I agree, but I'm not going to tell any of my friends I watched it.
Anki was too smart for her own good, right?
Yep.
I mean,
yeah.
But she figured out who you are.
She was
because I saw my mark on those binoculars. I know they're the ones I sold you. So these ice tongs are 1,200 pounds. And then his face whips around with him. It wasn't entirely clear how that killed her, but it did.
It did. And I also kind of like the fact that she then became like his shopper, his personal shopper. She was like, oh, these tongs would be good.
Yeah.
These tongs would be really good. So then she went and gave him, I thought of you. I found something perfect for you. Last time it was a music box, and this time it was a set of giant tongs.
Right.
I thought that was so funny. I really like.
They switch off every week. 1 week's not an innocuous gift. The next week it's a giant battle axe from the Sumerian era.
The premise of this movie, could be moved into a Netflix show where you develop the characters a little more, and you don't realize that Bancroft is the one behind it all. You just think he's this guy trying to find it. And you play that mystery up a little bit. He has a passion for the macabre. And you have a shop owner, and certain things are happening. And if you had a 6-episode or 8-episode thing, I think it could work rather well, and you could flesh it out.
Make a great variation on Only Murder in the Building. If you threw some humor at it. Michael Goff, which we kind of talked over, and we kind of made the Batman reference, but Alfred for 3 different Batmans, right?
Yeah.
4 different movies, and
I was gonna say, wasn't it 4 movies?
4 movies, but 3 different actors played Batman.
Oh, yeah. I see what you're saying. Sorry.
Michael Keaton and Val Kilmer and George Clooney. We've done a fair amount of movies that he was in. Serpent and the Rainbow, we did on 80s, and Boys from Brazil, Legend of Hell House, Horror Hospital. Now there's one you shouldn't miss. He was also in Berserk, the one that I told you that we canned. Crimson Cult, The Skull. We haven't done those yet, but I think we will. I like The Skull. I think that's kind of interesting. Dr. Terror's House of Horrors. And then here's some of the ones. The Black Zoo is one of Cohen's movies. You mentioned, Steve, that Goff was in some of his stuff. Hammer's The Phantom of the Opera. Hammer's Horror of Dracula. And then Conga, which was another Cohen movie. So, all right.
It's hard to believe this is a year after Dracula. Dracula's 58, this is 59. So it's interesting to see what actors pick as their next movie, so to speak.
It is. All right. So we do have some feedback. So, Steve, it's up to you. If you want to hang around for the feedback, you're more than welcome.
I can do whatever you want.
Yeah, stick around.
Hang with us.
Yeah.
Hang with us.
Yeah.
So this is an interesting one, and maybe you want to take a turn reading one of them, Steve?
Sure, I got it pulled up.
Okay, we kind of rotate around. So the first one is from episode 94, Planet of the Vampires. Mario Bava.
You want me to start with that one?
Yeah. Yep.
This is from Legion. Yet again, the U.S. dubbing greats. There's something extremely annoying about the American accent in non-U.S. films. The Italian audio was no better, as both are dubbed to the international cast. The U.S. dubbing pisses me off. What's up? Let's go see. The usual American comic book dialogue. But at least Sullivan speaks in his own voice, and it's typical that the U.S. renames Euroflix with dumb titles.
This pisses me off. I love
Yes. I'm with him. I'm with him.
Yeah.
Well,
Thanks,
and what's
Yeah.
a lot of those films, he's right. A lot of those Italian films are shot without sound anyway, and so then it doesn't matter if it's an Italian or not, it's dubbed later. Anyway, and this title, it took me the longest time to remember this title. I could remember the movie, but somehow or another, Planet of the Vampires wasn't, it was like Attack of the Vampires or the Vampire Planet or I don't know. I agree.
It is kind of, you're right. It doesn't come off, it doesn't come off very smoothly, and it doesn't really make much sense. Yeah. Speaking
of which, Planet of Vampires came out in Blu-ray this summer from Kino Lorber. So there's that. Daphne. So here's some on episode 132, Son of Dracula.
All right.
Mikey Z. This is kind of long, but
all right. I got it.
It's all got a point.
V words run rampant in the South. I don't get that.
Because she told him that we don't use that word.
Oh, that's right. Okay, good.
V word, I think
okay. One of my fave 40s uni horrors, but my comments might sound contradictory. Cheney tries to sophisticate his image, but he is too much of a regular guy to acquit himself as an Eastern European aristocrat. Still, he is an intimidating undead creature with the physicality that Lugosi just didn't have. The true villain.
That's kind of what we said.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
He was definitely imposing. Yeah. The true villain, Kay, manipulates events to become immortal and make her true beloved, Frank Stanley. Oh, Frank. Immortal as well. Evelyn Anker's talent was wasted in this. She should have played Kay, but her off-screen run-ins with Cheney might have had something to do with that. Dr. Laszlo and Madame Zimba needed more screen time and could have brought more of a mysterious element to the film. Never liked the Dr. Brewster character, butting his nose into everyone's business. His character seemed out of place here. See, that's another example of a doctor that can, like the doctor in, you guys get over yourself.
Oh, yeah. Well, but I like the character. I just thought he was.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was like the central character almost.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if Evelyn Ankers would have been a good Kay. Probably. I mean, she's a pretty good actress. So.
Well, even though she didn't get much screen time, I thought she did a good job in the character that she did play. I felt like I really appreciated kind of that character's. I don't know, it wasn't big, but I felt like she was a good sister character to kind of support Frank and kind of be the one pointing out that Kay is acting a little weird and stuff like that. It just seemed like still an important character, even though it was really small. And yeah, she didn't get much screen time, but I thought she did well.
Chad, you're the Evelyn Ankers fan. Should she have played the Kay character in Son of Dracula?
I thought so.
Really?
Well, that's who I was comfortable with. You
Mm.
always see Evelyn Ankers in Lon Chaney movies, but yeah, I think she would have done well in it, but I don't know. Who knows what reason they didn't do it? But
yeah,
Well, he
and
says
I'm definitely all for more Dr. Laszlo and Queen Zimba or Madame
definitely.
Zimba.
He says something about her off-screen run-ins with Chaney might have had something to do with it. Was there something off, like behind the scenes?
I think
between
he
them?
treated her badly, didn't he?
Oh,
She
Well,
didn't
he
like
said
him.
something. Yeah, she had a quote that said, like, her quote about him was sort of backhanded. It was like, when he was sober, he was the sweetest.
that's right.
Man. Something like that, you know. So,
okay.
anyway,
The Siadmak boys did a great job, even though they too had a strained relationship. Director Robert kept the film going with few slow moments. Writer Kurt develops some new V-word mythologies, burning the coffin, floating Dracula, and others. Atmospherically shot by longtime Universal cinematographer George Robinson. Great gowns again, agreed, by Universal designer Vera West, and score by Hans J. Salter. The war years impacted these films in some strange ways, bringing the Count to the South, even though no one has a Southern accent. Chad has a more Southern accent than the residents of this town. Perhaps the influence of Gone with the Wind from 1939 was involved. That's how Hollywood works, even back then. As Chad pointed out,
as far as accents go, we're so used to like accents don't matter. Like, it's some of those Frankenstein movies, somebody will have a German accent and somebody won't. There's, what did we do? The Queen of Spades, where it was supposed to be in Russia and all the actors had British accents. You know? So, like, I don't know. I didn't even think twice that they didn't have Southern accents.
I don't think I did either, now that you mention it.
Most of them had English accents. Alucard? What do you mean Alucard? Look, you use your finger, you can point the letters and say it, spell Dracula. I'm sorry.
As Chad pointed out, Chaney was miscast as Dracula. Had he been named something else, and Alucard does not count, this demeanor might have been more palatable. The same year, Lugosi starred in Return of the Vampire, and perhaps Universal wanted to cash in on the Dracula name to compete with that Columbia outing. Again, Hollywood thinking.
Which, by the way, we have an episode on Return of the Vampire. I'm sorry.
Great podcast by a 3/4 Grue-Crew. Infpad. Infpod. Sorry, I mispronounced my own name. You nailed the It's a Wonderful Life small town feel of the film. It just seems out of place here. All these criticisms do not diminish my love of this film. It is a great short addition to the uni horrors of the 30s, 40s, and 50s. Going to
Daphne,
get... Yes, sir.
When you talked about It's a Wonderful Life, what I got out of that, maybe that's just was my relation, maybe you meant something else, but I thought you were saying that Frank's frantic run through the woods and falling down and his hair and jacket all messed up reminded you of George Bailey's running through the town. Maybe
well, all of that. No.
Yeah.
That was it. All of that, definitely the Frank, but also the judge was Pa Bailey. That's what first got my attention. But definitely the acting too. Yeah, was definitely Jimmy, made me think of Jimmy Stewart, but in a horror way, which I thought was cool. But I love Pa Bailey, so that was kind of going to get a rolled up newspaper for the next podcast. Help me. Taglines with Chad, more like a gaseous Alvin the Chipmunk. You're muted. Luckily, you're muted.
You're muted, Chad.
Good thing.
Well, I think all I can think of is because I was playing that fly and people were joking that.
Well, Chad kept talking about his is poop fetish. I noticed from your last episode.
Oh, that's true.
No.
It wasn't a poop fetish.
No, nothing like that. No.
It was.
You want more fecal matter. That's all.
Hey, poop is funny. That's all I know.
Yeah,
I don't care whose it is.
Big deal here. Big deal here.
I never heard. I always heard farts were funny. Poop's funny. I'll have to think about that. Chad, you want to take the one from Lone Wolf?
I'm not. I won't elaborate.
Okay.
From Lone Wolf.
Yeah.
Okay. Lone Wolf says, "I understood Son of Kong, Son of Godzilla, and even Son of Frankenstein, but Son of Dracula never made a lick of sense to me. That being said, I like this movie, although not as good as most of the Universal monster films. It's impressive that Lon Chaney Jr. did the one thing that Boris and Bela never did, play the role of every major Universal monster. And we can at least credit this film for giving birth to a more awesome version of Alucard in the Castlevania games and animated series. I watched this on Patreon last week, and I thought the tagline intro was pretty funny. Ha ha. I hope you're getting paid for this, Chad. Well, Lone Wolf, I got news for you. I'm still waiting for the check.
Thanks, Lone Wolf. Good one. Boy, let's see. How do we do this? Yeah, we might as well go all in here. Here's one from Scott Wells about Son of Dracula. Great episode. I have a checkered history with this one. I really hated it when I first watched it years ago, but with each rewatch, I like it more. I don't think it will ever be among my favorite Dracula movies, but it might be up there in terms of vampire films. I love the fact that the real villain seems to be Kay, who is planning a deep double cross of Dracula, which is not something you often see. The weakest part of the film, and what keeps it from greatness, is unfortunately Chaney's line delivery. His performance is fine and even chilling, but the lines seem strange coming out of his mouth. He never found the voice of the character, which is a pity because there is some good dialogue in Son of Dracula that might have been very effective given to another actor. Chaney seems most effective playing characters that have a certain pathos to them, and while Dracula can work like that, it's not the way he is written in this film. I wonder what Kurt Siodmak would have done with it if his brother hadn't fired him. Speaking of Kurt Siodmak, I read an interview with him where he spoke a bit about this film. There seemed to be a sort of resigned bitterness about his brother Robert firing him, but then he went on to an almost gleeful anecdote about how Chaney smashed a vase over Robert Siodmak's head during the filming of Son of Dracula. Apparently, Chaney would often show up drunk and Robert couldn't control him, and one of those times resulted in that incident. Not surprising if Evelyn Ankers didn't like him. Let's see. Speaking of Kurt Siodmak, I read an interview with him where he spoke. Oh, I already said that one. I wonder about this because Chaney's performance is far more restrained here than in a lot of his other films. He doesn't seem drunk. He seems to be really controlled. I love the scene in particular when Frank shoots Alucard and incidentally Kay, just for the way Chaney plays it. He doesn't move a muscle. He doesn't flinch. He shows no reaction whatsoever to either being shot or to Kay apparently being killed. He just keeps staring at Frank, and even as Frank moves away, all he does is slowly turn just his head to watch Frank with an absolutely malevolent, icy stare. It's beautiful. This is one of those films I could talk about for hours, so I had better stop now. Just a couple more suggestions for the classic era. The Flesh Eaters, well, Steve would back that up, I guess.
So close.
The Snake Girl and the Silver-Haired Witch, which is actually is now on Shudder as of August 2022. Let's see. Island of Terror, 1966. Another Peter Cushing. Island of the Burning Damned, 1967. Curse of the Crimson Altar. I think that's got another name, isn't it? Crimson Cult. Is that the same film? Join my previous suggestion of The Return of Dracula and I Bury the Living. And oh, by the way, Scott, we're doing The Return of Dracula in a couple episodes. It's on the schedule.
Yay.
So great show, folks. Appreciate that. And yes, all these are good prospects. Good prospects.
Yeah, thanks for the suggestions. That's great.
And we're almost done. We have a couple on the fly that aren't near as long. Let's have Daphne do Mona Lisa, since we don't get
It's
as much female.
Mona Lisa. Hello, Mona Lisa. Classic edition is the best. Yay.
We certainly are.
Well, I thought she was talking about The Fly.
Maybe
right. She was talking about us, but
see, it's all about me. I make it all about me in the classic.
No,
edition.
that's
the classic edition of The Fly is the best. I gotta say, even though it's the first time I saw it, so I'll go with along with you, Mona Lisa.
Okay, yeah, classic edition could be out of all the DOHs, ours.
Oh, okay.
It could be a double entree.
Yeah,
it could be. It could very well be.
Well, I always think the originals, for the most part, are better. That's why I still like Invasion of the Body Snatcher from '56 better than the '70s version. But anyway, here we are again, Chad Lone Wolf.
Okay, Lone Wolf, it's you and me again. Caught this on Patreon as usual and had a blast listening to you guys. I remember the night when my mom introduced me to this classic film, a few years after seeing the Cronenberg remake. She's a big fan of Vincent Price, and I thought it would be a great idea to let me watch the original, especially since I was exposed to body horror as an 80s kid. Man, the original was so cool to watch. It's a film that just keeps you drawn in with its story and characters. Vincent Price shows us why he's in the pantheon of horror movie actors. Amen. The reveal of the fly head and the scene with the spider were shocking, but since I was recovering from Jeff Goldblum's nasty transformation, they didn't make me squirm as much. Still, I gave the original Fly lots of respect, and I think it's just one of the best sci-fi horror films ever made. Now I got to go check on this teleporter I just ordered from Amazon. Don't worry, I'm using it to make lasagna.
And I have no doubt that you can order a teleporter on Amazon.
It's not real. It's fake. It's just a cardboard box with a door on it.
All right. Last one.
No,
Steve.
I didn't order one.
Well, there was something on there I wanted to order once. I forget what it was called, something like a badonkadonk or something. It was like this. It was literally a military. It was a military vehicle. It was awesome. Anyway, Steve, could you read this one from Mikey Z about the Fly?
Sure, Mikey Z. An Essentials 50 sci-fi film, up there with The Thing from Another World, War of the Worlds, and Godzilla. Marvelously real depiction of a loving family unit undergoing an unreal scenario. David Al Hedison and Patricia Owens shine as married scientists and his loving wife. A wife who must do what she must do to bring peace to their family after a horrific accident. The iconic, Daphne, if you can do that voice, because you do it so well. The iconic,
help me!
Oh, you said Daphne. I'm sorry. I do it good too, so I got confused.
You do it great. You do it great.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. The iconic help me scene is one that lingers with you, especially if it was viewed as a young child, as was my experience. That shrieking plea is one that induced many a nightmare to young Mikey Z. Great podcast as usual. Unusual to see Chad on semi-good behavior.
Huh. I seem to recall acting out, especially more so on that day.
I guess all the talk of poop didn't bother.
Yeah. Keep being classic Grue-Crew. Maybe that's why you're Sir Chad now, because you were in such good behavior recently. You know, you're moving up the ranks.
Certainly.
It's a gold star.
Certainly.
Thanks, Steve. I appreciate it. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah. Steven, thank you.
It was great. Really appreciated it.
Thank you guys. It was fun. It's an honor to be here. And Al Hughes wanted me to tell you, because he's my buddy, that He gives his love to all of you, and and that kind of stuff. I'm surprised you picked me over him because he has the voice that is ear candy.
Yeah, we love Alistair.
Yeah,
There's a reason I do an audio podcast about the video, and everybody can see why.
He's got a face made for radio.
Yes, I do, and a voice for a
It
silent
wasn't
movie.
my idea to go to video, I'll tell you that.
Well, people should check out your website. You have some awesome
Yeah.
interviews, and
Yeah.
you guys have. I love Hammerama, and you have some awesome interviews and stuff. So I've really enjoyed those, and it's great to have you on.
Yeah, I think you search Diecast on most of the podcast apps.
Yeah.
I think you come up.
If you type in Diecast movie, it'll pop right up. And
Okay,
the two interviews I'll mention that we did that fit with you guys: Beverly Washburn with Spider Baby, and of course Donnie Dunnigan, Son of Frankenstein.
Yeah.
And there's
Hello.
others in that. And Jack
Hello.
Hill also with Spider Baby, the director. So there's some in there.
Yeah.
I listened to the Donnie Dunnigan one. That was really fun. You didn't really have to ask any questions.
Mr. Dunnigan is a force of nature. And I was interviewed, I think he was 85, and he told me before that, he said, Steve, I only did 30 push-ups this morning. And I'm just looking at him like, I'll be looking to do 30 push-ups in a month. And but awesome man.
Well, I love that some of the folks. I mean, I just love the folks that you interview. It's like it's just fun to hear their perspective, and yeah, it just feels really genuine and fun to hear these people, and I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you.
Oh,
And
yeah, I
almost
really
forgot
like-
one of my special interviews, episode 118, Whitney.
Yes.
That's right. An excellent
Now
podcast.
you talk about somebody that likes to talk about poop and farts.
She does have some good stories.
Yeah.
All right, that's it for this episode. But every 2 weeks, we'll be focusing on a specific film released between, well, we might go before 1920, but films released 1969 or before. Next up, chosen by Dirk Rogers, who is a special effects artist. He'll be our guest host on the next episode, Attack of the Mushroom People. Also known as Matango, Fungus of Terror. And you gotta love anything with the word fungus in the title. From Toho, directed by Ishiro Honda. Plenty of ways to stay in touch. Please send feedback to feedback@gruesomemagazine.com or just leave comments on the YouTube channel. Please like, subscribe, share, get alerts.
Tell your mother.
Help us.
You love her.
Help us.
Carrier pigeon. Send it by
Check out our
carrier
Facebook
pigeon.
page as well. Yes. Yeah. All right. So catch us again here in 2 weeks for another great horror movie of the classic era. There's only decades of horror can do it. Say good night, everybody.
Good night,
Good night.
everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Gruesome Magazine.